Everyone on the block knew the pizza place stayed open later than it should have. The ovens hummed past midnight, the smell of garlic and dough leaking through the cracks in the old bricks. But no one ever really questioned it, because every night, like clockwork, a boy barely old enough to drive would hop on his rusty bike, backpack slung over one shoulder, and ride off into the dark. Always to the same place, always to the mansion on the hill. His name was Eli. He wasn't the fastest delivery boy or the strongest or even the most organized. Half the time the cheese slid off to one side and he'd have to pretend it was part of some new style pizza. But he was the only one who said yes to that address. Others said it gave them the creeps. Too quiet, too rich, too cold. But Eli didn't care. He couldn't afford to. The mansion sat like a stone crown overlooking the town. Big iron gates, long gravel driveway, no lights in the windows. At night, it looked abandoned, but someone always opened the door when he knocked. Never the same person, but always polite. Suits, uniforms, sometimes even someone who looked like security. They'd take the pizza, hand him a tip, always exact, always generous, and shut the door. No eye contact, no small talk. Eli would hop back on his bike and ride back to the shop. Repeat the next night. Nobody asked why. Not his boss, not the others. It was just part of the rhythm now, like the creak of the old cash register or the buzz of the overhead lights. Eli delivered to the mansion, and the rest of them minded their business. But tonight was different. Tonight, when Eli walked into the back room to grab the last pizza of the shift, his hands were trembling. He tried to steady them on the edge of the counter, but the tremors ran deeper than muscle. His eyes were red, not from the onions, from something else. The manager, a tired woman named Rosa, who'd been running the place since Eli was a kid, glanced up and saw him. "You okay, mijo?" Eli nodded quickly. Yeah, just allergies." Rosa didn't press. She'd seen that look before, on faces much older than his. Instead, she reached under the counter and slid him a can of soda. "On the house. Go slow tonight." He managed a smile and stuffed the soda in his backpack. Then, he grabbed the box, warm and greasy in his hands, and headed out. The streets were quiet, but not peaceful. The kind of quiet that made your thoughts louder. Every streetlight he passed threw long shadows behind him. The tires of his bike crunched over old leaves and bits of gravel. And as he pedaled up the hill, his breath grew uneven. He was crying. Not loud, not messy, just quiet tears, the kind that slide down without permission. He didn't wipe them away. Maybe he was too tired to care. Maybe he just hoped no one would notice in the dark. But someone did. The porch light flicked on before he could knock. The door creaked open slowly, and for the first time ever, it wasn't a suit, or a maid, or a bodyguard. It was the owner, a man in his late 50s, maybe older. Tall, gray at the temples, dressed in a soft black sweater and slacks. His face wasn't cruel, but it was unreadable. Calm, still, like someone who'd seen everything and decided to say nothing. Eli froze. Pizza for same as usual." The man didn't reach for the box. He just looked at Eli. "Why are you crying?" Eli blinked, thrown completely off. "What? You're crying," the man said again, softer this time. "Is everything all right?" Eli straightened his back. "It's nothing. Just tired." The man didn't move, didn't break eye contact. The porch light cast a gentle glow over both of them, and for the first time in all the nights Eli had come here, the mansion didn't feel cold. It felt curious. Alive. You come here every night, no matter the weather, no matter how late. You deliver a single pizza to a house that never speaks to you. And tonight, you're crying. I'd like to know why. Eli looked down at the box. In his hands, the grease had started to bleed through the bottom. He swallowed hard. "It's my mom," he said finally. She's She's in the hospital. A pause. She's sick, real sick. And the bills, they're stacking up. I pick up as many shifts as I can. School during the day, pizza at night. I haven't seen her in 2 days because I've been working. She says not to worry, that she'll be fine. But she's lying. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat, trying to reel it back in. I just wanted to bring her favorite pizza tomorrow. She always loved the white garlic with extra mushrooms. I thought I'd save up enough tips to get it, but rent's due, and my brother just broke his glasses, and I feel like I'm always failing her, even when I'm trying not to. He stopped, realizing he'd said too much. To a stranger, a customer, a man in a mansion with carpets that probably cost more than his entire apartment. Eli took a breath and held the box out. Anyway, here's your pizza. But the man didn't take it. Instead, he opened the door wider. Come in. Eli blinked. What? You've delivered to my home every night for 6 months. Never late, never rude, always polite. And I've never asked your name. It's Eli. Well, Eli, come in. Eli hesitated. Everything inside him screamed not to. Don't walk into rich people's houses. Don't get too close. Don't expect kindness. But there was something in the man's voice that wasn't a command. It was an invitation. So Eli stepped in. The inside of the mansion was exactly what he imagined. Grand staircase, velvet curtains, golden frames. But it wasn't showy. It was quiet. Lived in. A little lonely, maybe. The man motioned to a nearby chair. Eli sat, awkwardly balancing the pizza box on his lap. The man disappeared for a moment and came back with 2 plates and a bottle of water. I figured if you're going to miss dinner with your mom, you shouldn't eat alone. Eli stared at him. You want to eat with me? Is that so strange? Eli opened the box slowly, and the steam rose up like a breath from a tired body. He handed over a slice, still stunned. They ate in silence for a while. The man took small, careful bites. Eli was hungrier than he realized. Finally, the man set his plate down. You remind me of someone I knew, years ago. A boy who worked too hard and trusted too little. He lost everything before he learned how to ask for help. Eli looked up. You've done more than anyone your age should ever have to. I admire that. But strength without rest breaks people. And you, Eli, are breaking. Eli felt something rise in his throat, but he pushed it down. Why do you care? He asked. I'm just a pizza guy. You don't even know me. The man's eyes softened. Maybe I see something I forgot existed. Maybe I wish someone had cared when I was in your shoes. Eli couldn't respond. He just looked down at his empty plate, hands still trembling. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black card. Come back tomorrow, he said. Not with pizza. Just you. I want to show you something. Eli took the card, confused, but nodded slowly. Then he stood, gave a quiet thank you, and walked back out into the night. As he coasted down the hill on his bike, the wind drying the tears on his cheeks, something unfamiliar stirred in his chest. Not relief. Not happiness, but hope. Something was about to change. The next morning came slow, heavy with the weight of questions Eli couldn't shake. He had barely slept. The black card the man gave him sat on his desk like it didn't belong. No name. Just an address embossed in silver, the same address as the mansion, but something about it felt different, more official. Like an invitation to something much bigger than pizza. He stared at it while brushing his teeth, stuffed it in his jacket pocket during breakfast, took it out, stared at it again, and tucked it back when his little brother asked why he was spacing. Out. You okay, Eli? Eli forced a smile. Yeah, just tired. Same lie. Just a different day. But the truth was louder now. The man's words from last night echoed in his head. You, Eli, are breaking. He skipped his after-school shift. Rosa didn't even argue. She just looked at him with quiet understanding and waved him off. That made it worse somehow, how everyone seemed to expect him to collapse, like it was only a matter of time. The sky had already dimmed by the time Eli stood at the base of the mansion's hill again, but this time, he wasn't carrying a pizza box, just a knot in his stomach and 100 reasons not to knock, but he did anyway. The door opened almost instantly. Right on time, the man said. This time he wore no sweater, no carefully curated outfit, just a crisp dress shirt, sleeves, rolled to his elbows. His demeanor was less mysterious now, more human. Eli hesitated. "What am I doing here?" The man stepped aside. "Finding out what happens when someone sees potential in you." That didn't make much sense, but Eli stepped inside again, heart thumping in his chest. They didn't sit in the front room this time. Instead, the man led him down a long corridor lined with photographs in heavy frames. Most showed people in formal clothes, smiling, holding plaques, shaking hands. One caught Eli's eye, the man, much younger, standing next to a beat-up food cart with a cheesy sign that read Tony's Slices. "You owned a pizza place?" Eli asked. "Still do," the man smiled. "Or I did. It's how I started. First job I ever held." Eli turned to him, stunned. "Wait, you're Tony? Like Tony's Pizza?" "That's me. Or at least who I used to be." Eli's mouth opened, but no sound came. The Tony's Pizza chain was legendary in their city. Everyone knew it. Multiple locations, franchise deals, even frozen products in grocery stores. Rosa still had one of the original pizza paddles hanging above the counter from back when the place had just one shop. The man nodded at Eli's expression. "Most people think I was born into money." I wasn't. I was a delivery boy, too. Used to bike down alleys, dodge traffic, deliver to places that pretended not to see me. They stopped at a set of tall doors at the end of the hall. The man opened them to reveal a kitchen. Not a mansion style. Showroom kitchen, a real one, stainless steel counters, industrial oven. A dough mixer that looked like it had seen war. "This is where I come when I miss being grounded," Tony said. "And today, I brought you here because I want to ask you something." Eli blinked. "Ask me what?" "If someone offered you a shot at something better, not a handout, not a gift, but a real opportunity, would you take it?" Eli stared at him. "I mean, yeah, of course. Even if it's hard." Eli didn't even pause. "Everything's hard." Tony smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. "Good, because I'm starting a mentorship program, real skills. Business, life, money, discipline. I've seen dozens of kids come and go, but I only invite the ones who show grit." He gestured at Eli. "You kept showing up. Rain, wind, tired, hungry, late at night. You kept showing up. That matters more than most people understand." Eli's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. He'd spent so long pushing, grinding, surviving. He didn't even know how to accept kindness. "Why me?" he asked quietly. Tony placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Because I see a kid who's one break away from either making it big or burning out for good, and I'd rather give you the first one." A long pause stretched between them. "Also," Tony added, "your garlic mushroom pizza's actually terrible. You keep forgetting the extra mushrooms." Eli laughed, surprised. At the sound of it coming from his own mouth, Tony grinned. "So let's start with that. You and me. Right now. I'll show you how to make it right." They spent the next hour kneading dough, tossing crusts, layering sauce. Tony moved like someone who still loved the basics, who hadn't lost his roots despite the suits and wealth. Eli followed clumsily at first, but then found a rhythm. Tony showed him tricks, how to press the dough edge just enough, how to smell when the crust was ready, how to use the back of a spoon like a brush with the garlic sauce. It wasn't just pizza. It was memory, legacy, something passed down, not sold. By the end of the lesson, the kitchen smelled like a childhood Eli never had. They pulled the pie from the oven and let it cool on the rack. Tony cut 2 slices and handed one over. "Try it now. The right way." Eli took a bite and closed his eyes. It wasn't just food. It was proof that something simple, done with care, could feel like home. Tony sat beside him on a stool. "We'll meet once a week here. I'll teach you everything I know, not just pizza, business, saving, growing something from nothing. Deal?" Eli nodded slowly. "Deal." As he left the mansion that night, the black card still warm in his pocket, Eli felt something shift, like the first inch of sunrise cracking through a long night. Not everything was fixed. His mom was still sick. The bills still piled. But for the first time in a long time, he wasn't alone, and maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to keep breaking to survive. Eli never told his mom right away. He wasn't sure how to explain it. The mansion, the black card, Tony's mentorship. It all felt too unreal, too fragile. Like if he said it out loud, it might vanish. So he kept going. Every Tuesday after school, he rode his bike up that long driveway with no pizza box in hand. Inside the mansion, the world felt different. It smelled like fresh basil and baked dough, and Tony was always already there, sleeves rolled, waiting with some lesson that was never really about pizza. How do you price a slice fairly? What's the difference between cheap and affordable? Why does loyalty matter more than advertising? And always, why are you still showing up, Eli? Each question cracked something open inside him. Each answer forced him to see himself not as some delivery kid, but as someone who might one day own something, lead something, be something. He started to change. At home, he began waking earlier, studying longer, talking less, but hearing more. When Rosa saw him rearranging the pizza display window one afternoon after his shift, she chuckled. "What's gotten into you, huh? Did someone slip ambition into your soda?" Eli just smiled. Something like that. But even as his world quietly began to grow, the pressure outside didn't ease. His mother's cough worsened. Her meds ran out faster than they could refill them. One night, Eli found her on the bathroom floor, too weak to stand. He called an ambulance with shaking fingers. That night, while sitting alone in a cold emergency room chair, something inside him buckled. He pulled the black card from his wallet. He'd never used it. Tony had said to only call if it truly mattered. Eli stared at the silver embossing for a long time. Then dialed the number. It rang once. Then Tony's voice, calm and clear. "Eli, I didn't know who else to call. I'm on my way. No questions, no hesitation." Within 20 minutes, Tony walked into the ER, all black coat and purpose. He didn't stop at the front desk. He walked straight to Eli, crouched beside him, and said, "Tell me everything." Eli did. His mom had been getting sicker. He'd been hiding it. He didn't want to burden anyone, especially not Tony. Tony listened, hands folded, no interruptions. "She won't let me ask for help," Eli finally whispered. "She says we'll manage, but we're not managing anymore." Tony placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's not weakness, that's love. But sometimes love needs a little backup." Then, without another word, Tony rose and spoke with the doctors. Whatever was said, things began to move. Nurses showed up. A private room was prepped. A new specialist was called in. Eli watched it all from the hallway like he wasn't really there. When he turned to thank Tony, he found him sitting in a plastic chair, staring at the floor. "You remind me of someone," Tony said softly. "My mom. She was like your mom. Proud, stubborn. She worked 2 jobs, made every dollar stretch like magic, but she died too early. I didn't have the tools to help her then." He looked up at Eli. "I do now." Eli's voice cracked. "Why are you doing this for me?" Tony leaned forward. "You think you were the only one being watched? You think you're the only one with a story? He pulled out his phone and tapped a photo. It was a faded image of a little boy with big eyes, holding a pizza box too big for him. That was me. 11 years old. Delivering to office parks after school. I cried once, outside a building lobby. Some guy in a suit walked by, then turned around, gave me a water bottle, asked my name, then offered me a part-time job washing dishes at his restaurant. Tony met Eli's eyes. That man was the start of everything. He saw me, just like I saw you. The weight of that landed like a stone in Eli's chest. He nodded, tears threatening. Later that night, when his mom finally stabilized and opened her eyes, Eli sat beside her, holding her hand. Who paid for this? She rasped. Eli swallowed. A friend. She looked at him, confused but too weak to question. What kind of friend pays for a hospital room? The kind who used to be me. She drifted off again, and Eli sat in the darkness, realizing just how much had changed in so little time. The next morning, after she was settled, Tony offered to drive him home. But instead of going straight there, Tony pulled the car into a gated lot behind a downtown building. Inside was a low-rise structure made of brick and glass, with a bright sign above the door. Tony's Foundation for Youth Empowerment. Eli looked at him, stunned. You run this? Tony smiled. Started it 10 years ago. Mostly stayed anonymous. But now I think it's time people know where they can go when they've got no one else. They walked inside. The room was filled with teens Eli's age, some at laptops, some sketching menus, some shaping dough. A girl with braids and flour on her nose waved. Hey, new guy, Tony laughed. Word gets around. He led Eli to a quiet office, walls lined with blueprints and photos of past students. Then, from a drawer, he pulled out a single sheet of paper, a scholarship application. To our partner culinary school, Tony said. We fund it, train our kids, then send them off to build their own legacy. Eli blinked at the page. I don't have the grades, he said. You've got something better, Tony replied. You've got fight, and that's not something we can teach. Eli looked down at the form, then up at the man who had, in a matter of weeks, cracked his whole world open. I don't know how to say thank you, he said quietly. Tony placed a hand over the form. Then don't. Just pay it forward one day. Be someone's turning point. Outside, the city moved on. Cars, honks, footsteps. But inside that moment, Eli felt the deepest stillness he'd ever known. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was beginning. The hospital room felt brighter after that night. Eli visited every morning before school and returned every evening, homework in one hand and hope in the other. His mother's cheeks regained color, and her voice, once raspy from illness, began to carry its warmth again. One morning, she turned to him with a knowing look. Eli, she said softly, I know you've been keeping something from me. He froze. What do you mean? She smiled. I may be sick, but I'm still your mother. I know when something's changed. You come home later. You speak differently. Your eyes, they carry less weight. He swallowed hard. She reached over, brushing a curl from his forehead. Is someone helping you? Eli hesitated. Then slowly he nodded. His name is Tony. He owns the mansion I used to deliver pizzas to. Her eyes widened. The one you came home crying about? He laughed a little. Yeah, that one. He told her everything. From the night Tony knelt beside him to the black card, the lessons in the mansion's kitchen, the night in the ER, and the foundation he had never imagined existed. He even told her about the scholarship, how Tony believed in him. His mother lay quietly, tears in her eyes. I always prayed someone would see you, she whispered. But I never imagined it'd be someone like that. Eli's voice cracked. I didn't think anyone ever would. She squeezed his hand. You've always been more than a pizza boy. But now the world is seeing what I always knew. That night, as he left the hospital, he felt lighter, like something unspoken had finally been released. He returned to Tony's mansion later that week, not for dough lessons or mentorship, but for dinner. Real dinner. Just the two of them, seated across a long, polished oak table, plates steaming. With rosemary chicken and roasted potatoes, Tony poured sparkling water into crystal glasses and grinned. You ever eaten off a plate that weighs more than your backpack? He joked. Eli laughed. I'm still not convinced I'm allowed to be here. Tony raised a brow. And yet, here you are. They were halfway through dessert when a knock came at the front door. Tony stood. Expecting someone? Tony's expression flickered. No. He opened the door. A woman stood there, mid-40s, hair pulled back tight, business suit pressed sharp. She looked like she belonged in a boardroom, not on a mansion doorstep at night. Tony, she said. He stepped back. Marissa, Eli. Stood from the table, unsure if he should stay or leave. Tony turned. Eli, this is an old friend from before. Marissa stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room like it was a memory. You've changed everything, she said. I had to, Tony replied. They stared at each other, heavy silence stretching between them. Then Marissa glanced at Eli. This, him? Tony nodded. Marissa crossed her arms. You really think this is going to fix it? Eli stepped back slightly, uncertain. Fix what? He asked quietly. Tony's voice was gentle. Marissa was there when I lost my mom. When I made my first million. When I almost lost it all again. Marissa cut in. When you vanished. Tony looked down. I didn't vanish. I ran. From the guilt, the pressure, everything. I built this place because I needed to believe that something good could still come from what I couldn't save. Marissa's voice softened. And him? Tony turned to Eli. He's the first person I saw who reminded me of me. And he's already better than I ever was. Eli felt his chest tighten. Marissa stepped closer. He's also the reason investors are asking questions. Tony raised a brow. What? She sighed. Words getting out, about the foundation, about you mentoring a pizza kid, that you're back in public view. Some board members don't like it. They think it's risky. Tony folded his arms. Let them come see what risk looks like. Marissa stared at him. Then show them. Let Eli tell his story. Let the world see what second chances actually look like. Tony looked at Eli, and Eli, quietly, nodded. A week later, Eli stood on a stage. Not a big one, just a foundation event. Press, donors, a few important faces. His voice shook at first, but he steadied it with the image of his mother smiling in the front row, eyes full of pride. He told them about the boy who biked through storms with lukewarm pizzas. The boy who cried outside a mansion, not because of rejection, but because of how much hope hurts when it feels out of reach. He told them about the man in the suit who didn't just offer a hand, but offered belief. And now, Eli finished, voice trembling, I don't dream of escaping poverty. I dream of opening my own restaurant, of bringing people together, of giving a job to the next kid who cries outside a door and thinks no one will ever hear him. The room fell silent. Then someone stood, clapped. Another followed. And another. And Tony, from the edge of the room, stood last, eyes glassy, face proud. Afterward, people came up. Handshakes, business cards, scholarships, offers. But Eli's favorite moment came quietly, when a teen, younger than him, tugged his sleeve and whispered, I deliver tacos. You think I could do something like that too? Eli crouched, met the kid's eyes. Absolutely. That night, Eli returned to the hospital with two things in his backpack, a copy of the speech and a letter offering early admission to the culinary academy. He handed it to his mom without a word. She read it slowly. Then, with tears rolling down her cheeks, she pulled him into her arms. "You did it," she whispered. Eli shook his head, smiling. "We did it." Years passed like pages in a well-read book, creases of pain, paragraphs of growth, and chapters inked with hope. Eli didn't just graduate from culinary school. He graduated with honors, holding his mother's hand as he crossed the stage. Tony was in the front row, dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief he pretended not to carry. The mansion deliveries stopped long ago, but the memories lingered. The rainy nights, the hunger in his belly, the hurt in his chest, and that one moment, one man who dared to ask why he was crying. It had all led here. Eli's Pizza Bistro opened 3 years later in a modest downtown space. Brick walls, hand-lettered signs, and a wooden door that looked weathered by time but full of soul. It wasn't the biggest or fanciest restaurant in the city, but it was always full. People lined up not just for the food, but for what the place meant. The walls were decorated with framed handwritten notes from kids he'd mentored, photos of his mom working the register, and even a picture of young Eli on his delivery bike, half-soaked and holding a pizza box like it was gold. Behind the counter, a small plaque read, "Every door you knock on has the power to open your future." Eli made sure every delivery driver on staff had clean uniforms, a warm jacket, and a company scooter. And once a month, he sat down with each of them, just to ask, really ask, how they were doing, because he remembered what it felt like when no one did. His mom now ran a small community garden in the back, teaching kids how to grow basil, tomatoes, and their own sense of worth. She still wore the necklace Eli had made her back in middle school, with a broken pizza charm dangling from it. As for Tony, he'd quietly retired from his company, handed the reins to a board built on values, not just profits, but he remained on the foundation board, only now Eli chaired it. One evening, Eli hosted a special dinner, a fundraiser, yes, but more than that. A celebration of full circles. He stood by the window, watching the sun dip low, the street bathed in gold. Then someone stepped into the bistro, a boy, maybe 14, skinny, nervous, holding a warm pizza box from a chain down the block. "Delivery?" the boy said, voice cracking. Eli looked down at the name, smiled. "We didn't order one," he said gently. "Oh," the boy's eyes dropped. "They told me to come here anyway." Eli's brow furrowed. The boy hesitated. I think, someone said you'd understand." Behind the boy, a man stepped in from the shadows. "Tony." Eli's eyes widened. "What is this?" Tony grinned. "Full circle." He gestured to the boy. "His name's Malik. He's been working nights, helping his mom. And last week, he cried outside my house. Said he felt like he was stuck delivering food to people, living dreams he'd never reach." Eli felt something crack open in his chest. Tony continued. "I asked him why he was crying." Malik looked up, tears forming. "You're really him, aren't you? The pizza guy who owns this place now." Eli knelt to his level. "I was you," he said softly, "and you're about to be more than me." He stood, reached into the register, drawer, and pulled out a white envelope. "This," Eli said, handing it to Malik, "is your first scholarship application, and your last pizza delivery." Malik opened it with trembling fingers. His mouth fell open. I don't know what to say," Eli smiled. "One day you'll say it to someone else." That night, Eli closed the restaurant early. He stood outside, the quiet city humming around him. A light drizzle began to fall, soft, familiar. He closed his eyes and let it touch his skin. In his pocket, he still carried the black card Tony gave him all those years ago. Worn, faded, but still legible. The night someone cares enough to ask is the night everything changes. He looked up at the dark sky and whispered, "Thank you for asking." And just like that, a pizza boy who once cried outside a mansion now changed lives from behind his own doors. Final takeaway. Sometimes the smallest question, "Why are you crying?" can open the biggest doors. Never underestimate the power of being seen, of being heard, because the boy delivering pizza tonight might just be the one changing the world tomorrow.